What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy Somerville. In just a little bit, I'll be joined by my tag team partner, Mr. Drew Ward, Mr. Ward's Wagers. Tonight, we got a fun show for you. We got people rocking fire hats. He says he's not mad. He is mad. We'll talk about that. Worst coach team in the league. We'll talk about that. Hashtag America's team. We'll talk about that and so much more. At Detroit Beastie joins us. Follow him on Twitter. He'll talk fantasy football. He will help you win your leagues. All that and more. See you in 30. Hey now, good people. What is up? How you doing tonight, Brother Drew? I think your mic's muted. Let me fix that for you. There we go. Now we can hear you.
Thanks,
hey,
man.
There's your voice. Brother,
I'm doing great.
We got a fun show tonight. We got a fun show tonight. All kinds of stuff going on.
We got football, which
I do have.
Kind of missed football last Thursday. I mean, we had Tuesday football. But I'm gonna miss. I missed Tuesday football this week, but here we are. Huge game tonight. Two really stout teams. Looking forward to it.
We got the Philadelphia Eagles 0-2-1 at home right now. They're gonna finish like 5-10-1 and be in first place in this division. I mean, that's how bad this NFC East is. They're playing the Giants. Danny Dimes, this is a guy who coming into the year we thought, okay, he's taking a step forward. What are we going to get out of Danny Dimes this year? And it looks like he's taking a step back under Joe Judge. They're going to get back on track tonight. Is this a game that you think the Giants can win? Or
yeah, I don't think they will.
Okay.
But I know they certainly can win it. I mean, listen, we've done this podcast for a long time, or whatever this show.
About a year now, a little more than a year.
Yeah. Okay. I've been on here and I've done everything in my power to say, hey, Carson Wentz is good. The team sucks. This sucks. And things like that. And so at this point it's tough, but I just don't see it changing anytime soon.
I mean, Carson Wentz, we've looked at him this year. He's been trash for the most part. His numbers, 1,401 yards, 8 touchdowns, 9 picks, 71.3% passer rating, it looks like here. I'm trying to dig through notes that are pretty sloppy in my handwriting. But, I mean, Carson Wentz is a guy that we have seen perform at a high level. Before he tore his ACL, before he had the knee injury, before the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, Carson Wentz was MVP candidate. And this year, he comes in after an okay year last year, and he's struggling again to get things going. And, yeah, we can give him the credit that, he's down to like their third left tackle. He's throwing to guys we never heard him. Travis Fulgham is his best receiver right now, and the guy from Old Dominion, most people had never even heard of. I mean, nobody knew who he was, and now all of a sudden he's their number one receiver. Boston Scott starts tonight in place of Miles Sanders, who was injured. And Scott last week, 138 scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns. Or this is last meeting between the Giants, 3 touchdowns, 138 scrimmage yards. So he can play. He can fill in. They've got guys who can fill in. But this team needs to be led by Carson Wentz, and Carson needs to do what we've seen Carson do in the past. But for the Giants, Daniel Jones, touchdown, rush for 74 yards last week. He's leading the team in rushing. So you're getting rushing yards from your quarterback. He's finally moving out of the pocket. Maybe he bounces back and starts getting more comfortable as he moves around. Darius Slayton is coming back on. It looks like he is going to continue what was a pretty strong rookie campaign. Devontae Freeman is now their starting running back. And, Freeman, 61 yards last week. Devontae Freeman was a guy that we basically tossed aside in Atlanta. It didn't look like he was going to be much of anything. And now here he is, the starting running back for the New York Giants. We can see him in prime time. Devontae Freeman back. You expect anything good out of Devontae Freeman tonight?
Last time we saw him, he didn't look great. He wasn't the same back. I don't know. I do think that he has a decent game because I think he's going to get carries, and I think you can get going in the running game against the Eagles. They're just banged up everywhere. We say this every time. But I do think you can get it going against them. I would 50 yards, in my opinion. I think not a big game, but I can see 50 yards and a touchdown from him.
All right. So you taking the Eagles tonight?
I want to take the Eagles tonight. Yeah, I am. I think it's going to be a terrible game. I mean, just if we're being honest, I don't think the game's going to be very, very good. But we're going to enjoy watching it because it's football on Thursday.
Exactly.
I would watch anything. But I think the Eagles still have the better team. There's lots of. I mean, if you look over at the Giants, they had to bench their rookie left tackle. He's showing up late to meetings. That's kind of a disaster. He's playing tonight. He's starting tonight. He hasn't been that great. That offensive line isn't great. Again, no Saquon. Hopefully Sterling Shepard's back tonight. I haven't been on Twitter in a minute, but I know he was hoping to practice early. They have weapons. I honestly think that Philadelphia is just a better team. So we'll see what happens, man.
No, I think the Eagles are going to win too, but this is a big game for both teams because even though your records suck, you win tonight, you can be in first place by the end of the weekend, or at least tied for it. Because if the Cowboys lose, you're looking at, whoever wins this game is going to be tied with 2 wins with Washington football team and the Dallas friggin' Cowboys at 2 wins. I mean, this is an ugly division, and I'm going to stick with the Eagles in this one. I think the Eagles roll, and hopefully we just get a good game. I mean, hopefully we get a good game out of this.
I think it's within a touchdown game. I mean, around there. I don't see the Eagles blowing at anybody. I mean, the Eagles can't move the ball offensively. Now they have no Miles Sanders. I mean, I don't know what we'll see.
I mean, I like Boston Scott. I think he can fill in. Like I said, he did 138 yards and 3 touchdowns last time they faced the Giants. But obviously, he's not a guy you want all the time running the ball.
Correct,
Miles Sanders is that guy, but we'll see. And this is why you need to make sure you're very good in the draft. And that is a segue, folks, in the business. That's what we call it. And now we are going to talk about one of our favorite segments, Backdraft, baby. It is time for Backdraft, and it is Backdraft 2017, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
Oh, it's not coming soon. It's already here, baby. And I'm rocking the Firehouse Subs Fire Chief hat because it is Backdraft. And what we always say on this show is it takes 3 years to really judge a draft class. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are our game of the week this week as they face the 5-0 Tennessee Titans in the COVID rematch or rescheduling game. 2017, they had a draft. Very interesting draft. There was rumors that they were trying to trade up in the first round of draft, a guy the Cleveland Browns took in tight end, David Njoku, to replace Heath Miller, who they had lost. And instead, they sat back. They didn't get David Njoku. He came to Cleveland and became a guy for now who's in Cleveland. Yeah, we'll see how it works. And instead, they took a guy named T.J. Watt. And this kid, T.J. Watt, a 6'4", 252 linebacker out of Wisconsin.
Special.
This kid, special. 2-time Pro Bowler. He started for 3 years. He started all but 1 game with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is the guy that is basically the chief of Blitzburg. He is wearing the fire hat there in Blitzburg. They also got a guy in the second round, Juju Smith-Schuster, 62nd overall, 1-time Pro Bowler, 2-year starter now. This guy's got 3,000 yards receiving, 20 touchdowns, had an off year last year because he didn't have Ben and he had, Duck Hodges and
no Antonio Brown. This
no
is
Antonio Brown.
Very significant with his production. Let's not say his production's ever been up to what it was that one season with Antonio Brown.
Exactly. Their third pick was Cameron Sutton. He is still with the team. He's been in 41 games. He's a guy who just fits in with their defense. He's got a sack this season, a guy who just does what they need him to do, nothing special. Then they had a second third-round pick. That was James Conner. James Conner, the running back out of Pitt, dealt with all kinds of health issues, still got drafted. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a solid player, 1,950 total yards, 4 touchdowns receiving, 20 touchdowns on the ground. This is the kind of draft that really helps your team going forward. You get 3 Pro Bowlers in your first 4 picks, and the rest of the draft, Joshua Dobbs, who they sent off to Jacksonville, Brian Allen, who's still on the squad, played the 17
I forgot
games.
they drafted Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs, the rocket scientist. Colin Halba, a long snapper who was with them until this year, and Keon Adams, who never played a game with them. But they took chances. A guy in Western Michigan with your 248th pick in the draft, not bad. But those first 4 guys, all still with the team, all still producing, all still doing things. And Juju, for all we know, by the end of this year, he may bounce back to the guy we saw a couple years ago with Antonio Brown. Because now you've got Deontay Johnson. Now you've got Chase Claypool.
And I think I also think Ben getting more and more reps and getting back into who he is all going to be. The Pittsburgh Steelers do a hell of a job drafting, especially wide receivers and linebackers. Okay, just look at the linebackers this team has drafted. Now you can say T.J. Watt. It no matter if you're running a 4-3-3-4 as a DN or an outside linebacker, whatever you want to call it. Okay, they're really good. They constantly hit on picks. And that team, just think of the receivers that have come through there and the ability to draft them in spots that they have in the draft. I mean, these guys aren't first round picks, right? These guys are going down and they're fine. If you can hit on 4 guys out of 7 or 8, depending on how many picks you have, that's going to be a good draft. And 3 years from the time of drafting, to have more than half your draft class still being productive and an essential part of the team is very impressive. And the Pittsburgh Steelers seem to do it quite often.
Yeah, this is a team that always seems to find replacements for guys they lose. They're seeing Hines Ward go out. You replace him. They had Martavis Bryant, then they go Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, a 6th-round pick from Western Michigan, or Central Michigan, sorry. I believe Chippewas.
Yes,
Chippewas. That's just fun to say now. You got guys, they've had guys who didn't work out. Limas, Swede,
what happens? It happens everywhere.
But happens everywhere. But if you want to look at a team that constantly drafts properly and gets guys who are just going to be perfect for them on and off the field.
Scheme fit. Yep.
It's always a scheme fit. They draft square pegs to go in square holes rather than drafting guys and saying, hey, you're a really good man corner, but we're going to make you play zone. And I won't say what team I'm talking about there. We're going to draft a quarterback who is great running out of the pocket, and then we're going to force him to be a drop back passer under center all the time. So many teams will do that, and the Pittsburgh Steelers always seem to find fits that are perfect. T.J. Watt was a guy who T.J. Watt could probably play with his hand on the ground because the guy's that good, but a perfect Pittsburgh Steelers player, and he's just dominated. James Conner was a guy who we didn't even know if he'd make it to the NFL, and they have gotten everything they can out of him, and the guy keeps chugging along. Every time we're like, you know what, James Conner, injuries are taking their toll. He dealt with cancer. It's been a tough life for him. It's been a lot of struggles. And every time we start pushing him out and thinking, okay, Benny Snell's there, Anthony McFarland Jr.'s there, he goes and runs for 100 and some yards and a score. The guy continues to do what the team needs him to do. And outside of drafting backup quarterbacks, they've done everything right. That's the only thing this team is missing right now is the eventual successor to Ben Roethlisberger, who looks really damn good. And probably they'll find it next year or the year after when they trade up or make the moves to do it. They always replace their guys. It's amazing what they do.
They could, and I'm not saying this is a thing, say Sam Darnold becomes available and his value is clearly on the decline.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold could be a guy that can go there because Sam Darnold not only is a young player, but he's a superhero player because he came out at a young age. So Sam Darnold would be fantastic to sit for a couple years. I think Sam Darnold could still play. I just don't know if he's broken to the point where we're going to need some flex tape to put his ass back together. So, I don't know, man.
I mean, that would be a perfect fit. Maybe that's a guy they go after. Every time we see a young quarterback available, the first team we always think of is Pittsburgh. And we always think that Pittsburgh is going to be the team that goes after him because we know that we always said Josh Rosen. Maybe Josh Rosen is that broken guy. Maybe it's a guy like Jameis who could end up there. Maybe he decides to leave at the end of the year, but they're going to find someone to fill in because that's what they do. And that's why this organization has been great for 30 plus years now and just continues to roll over teams like my Cleveland Browns.
Well, that's also the reason why it's going to be in somewhat of a harder position for them to draft maybe that future guy. And I'm not saying you can't find that guy in later rounds, but Pittsburgh historically is a good enough team to where they're going to be drafting in the 20s. And a lot of the times, and I'm not saying all the time, of course, you're not getting the cream of the crop at QB there because, your team's very competitive. And so, but I also think in today's game, it's basically people just draft quarterbacks all the time, right? It's just you just keep drafting quarterback. I mean, look at the Browns. The Browns draft quarterback. Well, they
millions
draft terrible, but my point is, you keep having guys coming in. You can trade for a guy like that when you're a team like that that may not necessarily have the opportunity to draft one of the higher guys up. Because a year down the road, 2 years down the road, a new GM comes in, new head coach comes in, it's blown up. They got a different scheme. Sometimes guys like that become available. Not always, but it's one of the ways to find that backup when you don't necessarily pick as high in the draft as you want, or you just keep swinging at guys and hope you hit some.
Yeah, and we've seen that when they decide that they want a guy, they'll trade up and get him. Look what they did with Devin Bush. Correct. And you talked about, constant changeover. That's why a lot of these teams suck, because they never build something. The Steelers, continuity, 100%. You know what you're going to get. I mean, they've had like 3 head coaches in 40-some years. They've gone from Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher to Mike Tomlin, and we've seen 3 head coaches in like 5 years for our franchises. They're like, actually, for mine, I think it's 4 head coaches in like 5 or 6 years. Yeah, Mike Tomlin, you know what?
Mike Tomlin's
people don't like him because he does sketchy shit, like when he tried to trip the Ravens player running down the sideline.
I'm not saying I necessarily like that.
But people hate on him for that. But hey, why not? Do what it takes to win the game. Kept the guy from returning the kick, and it's just a penalty.
Best press conference in the whole league, dude. Mike Tomlin is awesome to listen to.
He is. I mean, he's up there. I mean, maybe it's just guys named Mike who do great press conferences, because one of my favorite press conferences in college football is always Mike Leach.
No doubt.
But that's our Backdraft, and now I can take off my awesome fire hat.
Yes.
That was Backdraft. Pittsburgh Steelers, who are our game of the week. We'll talk a little bit more about them later.
We're going to do like a New York Jets Backdraft soon.
We should.
Just so we can laugh our ass off for 10 minutes.
Browns or Jets draft, absolutely fine. But as we do every week around 8:15, it's time to talk fantasy football. And to do that, it is the fantasy football guru at Detroit Beastie.
There he is.
What is happening, brother?
Hey, I want to say a few things real quick. I love the fireman hat, right? But I really think what would bring it all together is to just shave your chin, just these 2 patches right here. So it'd be like 2 big chops you got on, right? I think that would be good. That's like
I'm in.
That screams like Irish WWE character or something.
Yes. We do need
Backdraft. I will shave that way. Just for the next Backdraft.
And second, did you know that there's a Backdraft Part 2? The movie with one of the what's the guy's name? Alec Baldwin, one of the Baldwin, the youngest Baldwin brother. I'm sure and Kurt Russell. It was in like 91 Backdraft, the original movie.
Yes. Yep.
It was fantastic. They have a Backdraft too. I just watched it on Netflix like 10 days ago. And
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know it was either. And they filmed it and they put it out like last year. And it's not as bad as you would think it is.
All right, we're definitely gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
so this is the information you don't get. We didn't know that. We bring Chris on, he just kills it. Who knew there was a Backdraft too? Apparently, I've been showing the old Backdraft clip before we do Backdraft. And now I got to find Backdraft 2 trailer, and we'll move into that. But, brother, let's talk some fantasy football.
Let's get it.
Who are you high on this week?
Oh, that's a great question. I have a whole notebook full of guys. And as you can see, you can find it in all the guys I'm high on in terms of like cheaper owned guys. You can find in bottom of the barrel, right? Yep. But aside from that, just some guy. I love Aaron Jones this week, and I mean that's a no-brainer. Green Bay is playing Houston. Did you see what Derrick Henry did to Houston last week?
Yeah.
200 yards. He single-handedly ended the game on a touchdown run. The guy is on another level. But I'm thinking that Aaron Jones can have the same success. And a guy having bottom of the barrel this weekend too is his backup, Jamal Williams, who is $5,000 on FanDuel, and he's $4,000 on DraftKings. So I wouldn't mind stacking a complete Green Bay running back in one line on FanDuel this weekend.
Wow.
Let's say Aaron Jones puts up 110 rushing yards, scores a touchdown. Jamal Williams can do the same thing. So you're looking at 200 total yards and 2 touchdowns for literally probably $8,000 or $9,000. It's a nice pivot, because let me ask you boys this. I know you guys play on DFS, but how many times have you ever seen anybody have the stones to roster 2 running backs from the same team? It's unheard of, really.
Right. Yeah, it's usually a death wish.
But when the matchup is so flippin' juicy this weekend, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, because as it stands now, I don't want to say DFS is boring, but I'm just trying new things. I've been trying I've been trying such new stuff all over the years and trying to figure out what works for me. And I have a couple of tricks up my sleeve that normally work, but it's always nice to like expand or try something different. And I'm almost positive. Actually, I'm 110% sure I'm going to build one lineup, maybe in the Millie Maker, and I'm going to have Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams in that lineup, and we'll see where it takes me.
Love it.
Hopefully that million.
Oh, you know what? I think I've mentioned this on your show before. I know I've mentioned it before elsewhere, but that $1 million maker contest, you're with like 800,000 other people. Right. You got a better chance at winning the lottery. You know what I mean? So I'm just, when I get in a contest like that, they're normally like $4, $4.44. I'm just looking for a piece of the pie. If I can double, triple my entry fee, it's all gravy to me.
No doubt, man. All right, you're far away, brother.
All right, Jonnu Smith injured or dealing with an injury, playing Pittsburgh. You still start him this week?
Well, here's the thing. I double checked this before I hopped on with you boys, and he practiced in full today. So that's a good outlook going ahead to Sunday. So we're almost positive Jonnu is going to be a full go on Sunday. So the question that you asked me, sure, I would start him, but I had a question. Literally, if I say the word question again, kick me out of here. I'm sick of saying that word. Question. So anyways, somebody on Twitter asked me, who would you start? Would you start Evan Ingram tonight, or would you look to start Jonnu on Sunday? And it was a clear-cut answer for me. I'm going to start Evan Ingram tonight because the matchup is so juicy. As I just put the game on, they just kicked off, right? So that's a good move. But in general, start or sit, whatever, I'm going to go. If you have Jonnu as your tight end, I'm going to roll with him this weekend. And as you boys know, it's not a very favorable matchup. They're at home. Tennessee is at home, but they welcome in the Pittsburgh Steelers, which are they're a fantastic team. And what's even better about this thing is it's a 5-0 versus a 5-0 matchup. It's going to be fantastic. Someone is going to walk out of here with a loss while the other winner, goes to 6-0. So that is probably one of the most excited games I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait. That is our game of the week this week. And another question for you. DeAndre Swift, looks like the Detroit Lions finally realized they got a pretty dynamic running back. Started to use him last week. Is this something you think going forward we can start plugging him into lineups?
All right. Here's the thing with that. As
have caution.
I'm not just going to say yes or no. And especially
that's why I couldn't wait.
Especially when it's the Lions. It's just like, it's like the chalkboard in Good Will Hunting at the beginning where he figures out like this 75,000 piece puzzle, and there's plus and minuses and find X and Y and Z. So when you talk about DeAndre, you could plug anybody's name in here. It doesn't have to be DeAndre Swift. It's just a young rookie starting running back for the Lions. Do they wait? Have they waited too long to get the guy reps, or have they, thrown him to the wolves too early? So they never seem to get it right. And to be honest with you, Sunday they got it absolutely right. Swift looked like a monster. He looked fantastic. Swift was everything. He did everything last week we thought he was going to do starting, in week 1. I was going to say I fully expect, but to be honest with you, I fully don't know if that makes any sense. What the Lions are going to do here. It would be smart of them to get Swift all the targets and touches. I think looking back or remembering back on my notes this week, he was in on 86% of the offensive snaps on Sunday. And look what happens. They, albeit against a crappy team, but they still won. If you're going to do anything as a professional football team, you have to win your favorable matchups. You have to beat bad teams. And that's the Lions did that on Sunday, and I love that, and that's fantastic. But again, that was last week, and we're looking ahead to week 7 here. Now, you have a backfield with Swift, obviously a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer and Adrian Peterson, and Kerryon Johnson, who I believe is he's buried now.
It's Kerryon Johnson's literally become a pass pro running back, and
which is fantastic.
He's almost unownable. You can't even own him, really. I mean, you can in fantasy, but he's just not getting the touches, and I don't see that changing moving forward.
And when it comes to KJ, I love the guy. We've had interactions on Twitter. He's a good man. He's great in the community. He is, if I'm not mistaken, a top 5 pass pro running back, and that's fantastic for real life purposes. And to be honest with you guys, I don't care about DFS or seasonal stuff. As long as the Lions win and they can put something together, maybe a deep playoff run, nothing else matters. And I'm giving you full disclosure here. But in terms of what we're trying to do here, for the sake of the show here and for the sake of our content, we need to talk fantasy backs. And Swift was fantastic on Sunday. AP worked in; he looked good. And it seems like the coaching staff put Kerryon in, and just to like throw him a bone, right? And Stafford put it right on his hands, and he dropped it. And Kerryon didn't even turn and look to the middle of the field. He just went right to the sideline with his head down. So I don't think that Kerryon's going to get a lot of targets and touches moving on. They're going to put him in. They could put him in, in packages with AP, with Swift, but he's primarily going to be blocking. And for real life purposes, as a football player and as a man, I respect what he does. But for fantasy purposes, he's been droppable, weeks ago. So this was all a roundabout way to answer your question, Jeremy. I firmly, actually, you know what? I'm going to say it. I firmly believe that Swift has arrived, and they're going to use him a lot more because, as you know, I'm sure Drew knows this, and Jeremy, I know you're a big note taker. Matthew Stafford is now 8-1 in his career when he has a running back that goes for over 100 rushing yards or more. But
in fact, there's only been 9 of those opportunities.
In 11 seasons, that was my next point. In 11 seasons, he's only had 9 or 10 backs go for 100 yards in a game, which is like your mind is blown. It's absolutely insane. So yes, in my heart of hearts, the Lions get Swift more involved here. It would be in their best interest.
So there's 9 running backs in 11 years that have gone over 100 yards. Who are those running backs? You're 2 Detroit Lions fans.
Yeah, I would believe it is Kerryon went over 100 yards. Swift went over 100 yards. What's the guy's name? Not Marshawn Lattimore, but he played at Illinois. He was
Mikel LaShore.
Mikel LaShore.
Mikel LaShore. Kevin Smith from Virginia Tech, maybe.
Yep, that's one.
Reggie Bush,
absolutely. LeGarrette Blount, maybe.
I don't think so.
And that's really all I have.
That's the crazy question. We're going to have to eventually Google the answer for that.
Javid Best, I know he went over 100 yards.
Because he had a 95-yard run. I remember. So he had to have gone over. But
I'm even impressed that I knew those guys. So
you know what's sad, not to get off base here talk about the Lions, because they're terrible, but it's crazy to think that like none of those backs did it twice. You know what I mean? Not. Like it was like you did it one time, and that's all you did.
I remember correct me, this is all from memory, but I think it was like 2006. Kevin Smith, that kid from Virginia Tech, he went over 1,000 yards, and I was there at that game when he went over 1,000 yards, and people were looking around and freaking out like we won the Super Bowl because Lions running backs just don't go over 1,000 yards in a season. And I think I'm going to write this note down, and I'll look it up for you. But I think you finished the season with 1,024 or 26 yards, and if I'm right on that, I don't know. My memory is not what it used to be. So if that is absolutely right, I'm going to be shocked.
I'm all for it. But you're right. Yeah, it's been wild. Kevin Smith was fun.
I mean, Detroit's lineups coming up, or their matchups coming up. You got the Falcons, Colts, Vikings, whose defensive line is nothing now that they traded Yannick.
Yeah.
The Washington football team, who you can run on. then the Panthers and Texans. I mean, these are all favorable games for DeAndre Swift going forward. So
no doubt. And I just got word before we went live that the Minnesota Vikings put Daniel Hunter, their stud defensive lineman, on IR. He's having season-ending surgery of some sort. So
and they traded Yannick this morning.
I saw that too.
That team's going to be a fire sale pretty soon.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see, the glimpses of it.
Go ahead, hit it, Drew.
One other thing I wanted to say before we dig any deeper. So I went north this weekend with my girlfriend and some other people.
Awesome.
And on the drive home, it was like a 3.5, 4 hour drive home. And halfway through the drive home, we stopped to get gas and, get some snacks and stop to use the bathroom. And I pulled out my phone and I saw that little tidbit you guys edited about Ryan Tannehill. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, I started to freak out because I don't know what I saw. There was a red bar underneath, like our names were in. And I thought for a moment, someone cut up a clip of me and to say this guy is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I go, oh, this is Jeremy and Drew. These are the boys. They did me a solid. They cut up my Ryan Tannehill tape. So thank you for that, guys. That was
was
a fantastic. It was a real high. No, excuse me. It's a real low, and then it was a real high when I figured out it was a positive message.
Monday I always try to read Football Morning in America and see what Peter King's writing. Peter King, great guy. I got to meet him in 2012.
Yeah, he really
is. Good dude. And always read that article. And when I read that, I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, we've already talked about this. I'm like, gotta post it. Gotta give Chris props.
And to be
props
fair,
to you for doing that.
To be fair, Ryan Tannehill's been in bottom of the barrel, I think, 4 or 5 times out of the season so far. I've been talking about him for months now. So it's fine. You know what I mean? We're just regular dudes. I'm a nobody. I can't speak for you two, but I'm just loving what I'm doing. And I can't thank you enough for having me on every week. It's done wonders for my article.
We're far from nobodies. We're all dudes who love football, and we get a great viewing. And
That's it.
Always hit it on the head when we ask questions. Right. And we do have a question from Facebook. It is from my sister, who is 6-0 in fantasy right now.
Nice job, Angela.
Help with running back. Dalvin Cook on bye. Mostert injured again. I picked up Wilson, Bernard, and Brian Hill. I'm starting Wilson. Who else should I start?
I wish I would have had this question before the game started, because I picked up Philadelphia running back Corey Clement, and I was forced to start him. So I know, just to get that out, because I know it doesn't help you because the game has already started. But of those choices, I would go Gio Bernard too. If Joe Mixon is inactive, that's a no-brainer there, right? And then Brian Hill's an interesting guy. Todd Gurley's going to get a ton of looks here, and this isn't a secret. Todd Gurley played for Georgia, but they've already had home games, so it's not like Todd Gurley is going to be like, oh my God, I got all these friends and family here. It should be fine. Brian Hill's not a horrible call, right? Given what's going on in terms of the Lions defense. But I got a couple other guys. Angela, go check the waiver wire here. Go see if J.D. McKissick is available. Washington running back. They're playing Dallas. Dallas has got awful. And lo and behold, J.D. McKissick has out-targeted Antonio Gibson there in that offense for like 2 or 3 weeks in a row here. Look for a guy. He's not a rookie running back, but he's backing up Derrick Henry in Tennessee. I know there's not a ton of looks when Derrick Henry is your starting quarterback, but the kid's name is Jeremy McNichols. And I'm telling you these names. I would never ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't do. I've added all these guys I just told you to do, and I might have to start him here. JaMycal Hasty in San Francisco is another nice ad there, given the fact that Mostert is out again. I don't know what Jet McKinnon's status is, but if you're with Wilson, I would look to start JaMycal Hasty too, because on Sunday night he got a ton of looks against the Rams, and he looked very good there. So look into those guys and report back. Even Anthony McFarland Jr., who I've mentioned a few times, he's backing up James Conner in Pittsburgh, and again they're playing in Tennessee this weekend. Nice. And these are all guys that are like deep league ads, but they have some appeal here, especially with bye weeks upon us, the slew of injuries we've been given here. So go look up those guys and see where we stand on Sunday morning.
What do you got, Drew?
Yeah, only other thing I want to touch on for me at least, I saw bottom of the barrel Austin Hooper this week.
I know, right?
Is that I know that you hated Austin Hooper at the beginning of the year. You were spot on with it. Is this strictly matchup based because Cincinnati is terrible?
Absolutely. And I've been talking about my dislike for Austin Hooper for probably we're coming up on.
That's why I was shocked to see it. I was like, oh, there he is.
For about 3 months now. If you look at his matchup, as you said, they're in Cincinnati this weekend, and I did something else that I'm not proud of, and that is if you look on my on all social media outlets every week around Wednesday, I post player graphics cards. My favorite plays of the week. This week it was a no-brainer in Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones.
They're awesome,
as I said.
Way. Those graphics.
AJ
Those graphics
Brown,
look fantastic.
Thank you so much. And then my favorite tight end start of the week is Austin Hooper. I have him for about 5-6 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. So it's purely matchup based, and who knows what the future holds. Will Austin Hooper make one of my graphic cards again, or will we be here next week saying I don't know, we might need to start Austin Hooper again? But I'm glad you said it. It's purely matchup based at this point with Hoops. I don't know what you guys call him in Cleveland, Jeremy.
We call him Baker's dump off guy, basically.
Right. So instead of Hoops, let's call him Dumps.
Yeah, Dumps. I like it.
Dumps.
I'll hit him up and see if he appreciates that nickname.
Perfect.
Hey, Chris, man, we appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much again, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Chris, you're doing another show. You got your own podcast going on. Where can we find that?
Well, to be fair, it's not my own podcast.
Okay. You got a show going?
Yeah, I was asked by his name's David over at Hammercast. You can find them at hammercast.com, I believe, and then Hammercast1 on Twitter. He reached out and we get together on Tuesday evenings at about 6:30, and we talk for about an hour and 10 minutes about bottom of the barrel. Literally every guy in there. Tuesday, I read through bottom of the barrel like it was like I was sitting in a kindergarten class reading a book. We went over every inch of it, and it's been people are really liking it, and it's been fantastic. In the last few weeks, dare I say the whole season, bottom of the barrel has been lights out in terms of those low-owned guys. So people have been very receptive of it so far in terms of downloads and views and all that. So look for that Tuesday night. So thank you for bringing that up.
Rockstar.
Thank you, man. We will see you in 2 weeks. We are off next week, but make sure that you follow Chris at Detroit Beastie. Check him out on Fantasy Pros. Brother, we appreciate your time as always.
You got it.
Take care. Have a good one, buddy.
Have a good night, man.
I'll see you later, boys.
All right, bud.
Always excellent to have Chris on. He just kills it every time. It's fun to talk. I mean, we just let him roll most of the time. He kills that. We don't even.
We got some Lions in there tonight. Got some Lions talk. Everybody loves that.
10 minutes on the Lions, and we had to figure out who their running backs were, and I had to come up with Mikael Shore, who I haven't thought of probably in 10 years or so. I mean,
I'm pretty sure Mikael Shore, that actually was a really good Illinois team. Yeah. Defensively, they had Michael Holman. I knew he had tight end. Mm-hmm. Defensively, damn.
Was Juice the quarterback on that team?
Yeah, I think so. It was a while ago. That was basically the last time Illinois has been relevant in football. But God bless.
That might have been the Illinois team that beat the undefeated Buckeyes the day I went to see Dane Cook with my ex-wife. Like, I'm trying to think. I know they lost to Illinois. Crazy thing. Dane Cook was funny back in the day, not so much anymore. But brother, we got to get back on track here eventually.
Yep.
But let's talk about our t-shirts. Forgot to mention this. Check out our new merchandise at bonfire.com/stores/FCFS-tees. The Detroit Beastie t-shirt. Done selling. 3 weeks we had that campaign going. It is sold. So anyone who ordered that, I know I was getting emails about it. Anyone who ordered that, it should be shipped out now. You should have it by this time next week. I am going to start every Monday. We will put up our new links to all our shirts, and the campaigns will run for 1 full week, and then they will be shipped out. So that way everyone gets their stuff faster. So every Monday, look, brand new stuff there. Check out our merchandise. Bonfire.com/store/FCFS-cheese. And they are high quality items. They're comfortable. They're nice. Lots of women's stuff. And hey, ladies, women's stuff way cheaper than the men's. You know what? Because we wanted the ladies to join the show too and wear it. And we know that people will look way more at you than they will at us. And that may have sounded sexist and wrong, but hey.
You said it.
It's the friggin' truth, and I said it. That'll be my cut up this weekend. I'll cut that up. It'll be creepy.
Love it.
Anyway, let's get to our game of the week. We talked Steelers earlier and their 2017 draft. They are our game of the week. 5-0 Steelers at 5-0 Titans. A 1 p.m. kickoff. I feel like we got Eagles and Giants on prime time, and we got Steelers and Titans on 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. Excuse me there with my hiccup. Let me see who's got the call on this. I think it's Ian Eagle. Yeah, it's Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn, the field reporter. CBS.
I'm a big fan of that team, by the way. I'm a big fan of the Ian Eagle, Charles Davis broadcast.
It is a solid team, but it's not their number one team. I feel like this is deserving of the number one team, but you know what? I love Charles Davis. I think he does excellent work.
He does.
Ian Eagle, excellent as well. It's probably their B team, but still, this is an A team kind of game. Yeah. And you know what? Hey, they got a good quality matchup there. Who do you like in this one? What do you see going on in this game? I mean, this is two powerhouses, basically 5-0. Trying to find my notes on the game here. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I actually like Pittsburgh. I was really impressed with what Pittsburgh did. I mean, last week, I know I was going to say I know it's Cleveland, but Cleveland was 4-1 at the time.
Yeah.
I really like what their defense, how the way they're playing. Yeah, they're down to Bush now, which is terrible. I feel like they have the weapons. I feel like the Titans, when they get behind at times, can become somewhat of a one-dimensional team. And Ryan Tannehill, don't get me wrong, Ryan Tannehill is playing at top 5 level football. But that offense also ticks as the running game goes. We talked about it last year when they got put behind 2 touchdowns. That team, all of a sudden, it becomes a little bit easier to defend. When the opportunity for play action and just pounding, Derrick Henry kind of goes away a little bit. And then they have to look to their young receivers, which is somewhat problematic. I do like the Steelers here. I think they're a really good team. They've beaten up on some bad teams. I know the Titans had fits with the Texans last week. I don't think the Texans are very good. I don't know if the Browns are very good. I think they're kind of mediocre, honestly, my opinion. No, but I do like the Steelers here. But I think it's a good game. I do. I think it was within a touchdown.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, the Browns, they went in there 4-1. The Browns, who got stomped by the Ravens, we expected more out of them in this game. We didn't get it, and it started with Baker Mayfield, and I'll talk more about that later. But Pittsburgh showed how dominant that defense can be because they just completely shut down the Cleveland Browns running game, which was the number 1 running game in the league. Yeah. And they still ran pretty solid against a Colts team that is a very good tackling team. But Pittsburgh forced them to be
– I mean, Nick Chubb not being available was just –
Kareem Hunt's no slack, but –
I agree. But the dual – see, the thing is with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, it's just such a different running back room because they do different things and they do different things really, really well.
And they do. And they forced the Browns to be one-dimensional. And Baker wasn't up for it, and we'll talk more about that later. But for this game, Pittsburgh, if they shut down Derrick Henry, they're not facing Baker Mayfield. Ryan Tannehill has shown that he can make plays in and out of the pocket. And Jonnu Smith is the guy you can dump the ball off to. Adam Humphries can show up. He's got weapons and not normal household names. Not a lot of people are going to be talking about Berkshire is the guy's name. He's the backup tight end, but he went for over 100 yards last week. And Corey Davis is going to be back. Corey Davis, we've been waiting for him to bust out since he was the 5th overall pick like 3 years ago. You got A.J. Brown, who can give nightmares. That secondary is the weak spot to me for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you can get enough blocking or if Tannehill can make the right call, which he can do because he can read defenses, which is something Baker Mayfield didn't do last week, and we'll talk more about that later. And if you can get Derrick Henry just moving the ball a little bit, Tennessee can make noise in this game. But for me, I'm with you. I think Pittsburgh wins this game. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm thinking a 20-17 kind of game, a close score.
I agree with that.
Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, if you would have told me last year that Ben Roethlisberger and Ryan Tannehill would be facing each other in week 6, and one of them would be the aggressive quarterback and one of them would be the conservative quarterback, I'd be like, oh, yeah, well, you got Tannehill who's probably going to be dump off and Ben who's going to be throwing it all around the field. But Tannehill has stepped up. Tannehill's a better quarterback now. Unbelievable to think, but Ben Roethlisberger does what it takes for his team to win the game. He doesn't give a shit about his stats, doesn't give a damn what he's doing as long as the team gets a win. And they can throw the ball to anybody. They got Ray McCloud, who they haven't used yet. They'll get him involved eventually. You know, Connor's starting to come on. You got Mapletron, they're calling him, which I hate that nickname, by the way. And Chase Claypool, who seems to really be the real deal there. We saw what he could do at Notre Dame when he was into the game, but they never got him involved correctly. And you got Deontay Johnson hopefully returning this week to go along with Juju. That's a lot of weapons, and that secondary for the Titans, which was the strength, not the strength anymore. Dory Jackson out. They don't have Logan Ryan anymore. I mean, it's a totally different team now, but I mean, this has got to be the game where Clowney finally steps up and plays like the guy we all know the name is if they want to win this football game.
His name hasn't even been called this year.
I don't feel like it has.
It's just I mean, imagine if he got the money he wanted.
Yeah.
People would be screaming from the rooftops.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the way they talk about him, you think this guy was doing what Myles Garrett is doing right now, and he's not.
Exactly.
So it looks like both of us are taking Pittsburgh in this. And something else to look at is we got a backup left tackle in there for the Titans this week. I mean, Taylor Lewan out for the season.
Yeah.
And you're going to be facing TJ Watt and Bud Dupree. That is scary. But, I mean, this is a Mike Vrabel coach team. He's proven that he's an excellent head coach with the X's and O's and the ideas he comes up with. I think this is one of their tougher games. It's going to be very interesting to see. You know, this is going to be the game to watch at 1 o'clock. And I know for a lot of you, you're not going to get to see it, but that's where Red Zone comes in handy. So make sure you got that Red Zone going. I know you will, for sure. Let's move on to the rest of the games. Detroit Lions 2-3 traveled to Atlanta to face the 1-5 Falcons. Detroit won last week against Jacksonville 34-16. Atlanta finally got on the winning track with a 40-23 win against Minnesota, thanks in part to Kirk Cousins throwing 3 picks. I mean, your Lions going to make 500 in this game, or you got the Falcons?
No, I'll take Detroit. Matt Stafford's not going to throw it to it 3 times. He's not going to throw it to the other team 3 times. I think DeAndre Swift was really good last week. I hope they keep it going. They're running the ball well. This team has its flaws, but I think that they can beat teams that are equal or worse than them. And I view Atlanta to be kind of an equal team, and I think they get it done.
I mean, the interesting thing here is that the Falcons' main weapons are all on the injury report. Calvin Ridley, is he going to play? Is Julio going to play? If those wide receivers both play, it could be interesting. I mean, the Lions, they realize that cover 1 doesn't work all the time, and they finally switched to some zone cover 3. They let play man-to-man. They finally used Jeffrey Okudah in a better situation and got a win last week. Then they started using DeAndre Swift. They finally started using these guys they drafted in situations that made sense for them, and they got a victory. And it looked like, okay, you had 2 weeks to prepare. That's what's going to happen. Or was it the fact that they played Jacksonville? This is a game where it's really going to see how good the Detroit Lions can be going forward.
Can I say something?
Absolutely. It's your team. Go ahead.
I miss Golden Tate.
Yeah.
He just did
pretty good
cool
receiver
stuff.
for you guys.
He just did cool stuff. I miss him.
He's a guy who I wouldn't be surprised to be traded before the November 3rd trade deadline.
I agree with that.
Yep, definitely a guy who, if I'm a semi-mildly contending team who needs one piece to put me over, Golden Tate is that guy. And that was a hell of a catch, by the way, for that touchdown.
It was awesome.
Bodied up the receiver, slowed down, helped out his quarterback. That's what he does, is he helps out his quarterback. And speaking of auditioning for other teams, this is an interesting game for Matt Ryan and Matt Stafford, the two Matts. Are they auditioning for new GM and head coach possibly next year for the rest of the season? I mean, we know that Matt Ryan is for sure, and it looks like that's the way it was trending in Detroit. Or maybe he's even auditioning for another team next year if they decide to move on from him. Is this a big game and the rest of the season going forward for these two to audition for their jobs next year, do you think?
That's kind of a hard question for me. Because I think, Patricia and Quinn are done. They're toast. They're trash. They're out of here. it's certainly possible that Matt Stafford gets traded next year, just based off of bringing in a whole new. I mean, how many front offices can this man have?
Yeah.
But I think listen, Matt Ryan's not going to be back in Atlanta, in my opinion, next year. I think Matt Stafford's not going to be back in Detroit next year.
Wow.
I mean, the Lions aren't good. They're going to be a 7-9 team, and if they don't fire their asses, I riot. It's that simple. But yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't matter, to be honest, what happens, because I think Patricia's going to do what he can to lose games. Just his scheme, like you said, last week was very nice to see. They changed up a little bit from the man to the zone. They did some different things. It was actually nice. After we told his ass to do it for a year and a half now. But as far as Atlanta goes, I mean, Atlanta's going to turn the page on Dave Quinn. They're going to be looking to start fresh. Both these guys, who, by the way, Stafford and Matt Ryan are, like, I guess, really good friends. Read an article about it. It was a waste of my time. But, yeah, I think both these guys are on new teams next year anyway. So I don't think there's anything they're going to be able to do necessarily to win over and stay any longer.
Like that. That's what I asked you that question, because I knew it was going to be tough for you to answer, and I knew you'd give me a good answer once you thought about it. Excellent answer on that, and I'm with you. I could see both these guys being on new teams next year. It's going to be interesting. It also brings up something we will have to touch on at another time, where you look at the guys, and we talked about front offices staying together and the continuity. These teams may have kept coaches a year too long, and now it's hurting them for the long term, because if you get rid of Quinn and Patricia next year or last year, then you're not looking at guys who are going to draft strictly to try to win this year and then look towards the future. You could have drafted Tua. You could have looked towards the future. So that's something we definitely need to touch on coming up in the future here. And now we will move on to my team, the Cleveland Browns, 4-2, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, 1-4-1. And this is an interesting game for the Browns, because they played the Bengals week 2 just after they got stomped by the Ravens, 37-6. And now it's 38-7 loss to Pittsburgh, and you're playing the Bengals again. They come up just in time. But this is a different kind of Bengals team. I mean, their defense is still terrible outside of Jesse Bates. Only guy who I think on PFF grades who's like even above average replacement. And you might not have Joe Mixon for Cincinnati, but I mean, this team, they're trying to figure things out. They had a chance to win last week, and they didn't put it together. AJ Green absolutely slacked off on a play he would have caught if he gave a damn about, actually winning football games or actually caring about doing the things for his team. I think AJ Green needs to get out of there. He's a guy who needs to be traded. He's ready to go. But the Bengals, this isn't an easy win. It's not as easy as it was week 2 for the Browns. So going into Cincinnati, this is a trap game if they overlook the Bengals. I mean, Bengals, this is going to be an easier matchup for them, or for the Browns, than Pittsburgh, obviously, but it's not going to be that easy. So do not overlook them. And the Browns will only win this game if Baker Mayfield plays a good game. If Baker Mayfield goes out there and plays like he did last week, anywhere near what he played last week, the Cleveland Browns will lose this game in 4-3, and then you'll hear more talk against Baker, which we've heard all week. And that's something I wanted to talk about coming into this show. Baker Mayfield. For those people who are looking at the Dolphins right now and saying, why are they starting Tua? You're 3-3. Fitzpatrick is playing well. You're 3-3. You're in a playoff chase, kind of. Your team's okay. Yes, Fitzpatrick has been good. Yes, he's made that offensive line look better. But the reason you're playing Tua now, because imagine if the Browns didn't play Baker that first year. Imagine if the only Baker Mayfield we saw was last year and the beginning of this year. There wouldn't be that hope in Baker Mayfield. It would already be the fact that this guy's probably not good. And right now, knowing what we saw that first year, it is still up in the air how good Baker Mayfield is.
No, he's probably not good. He's probably mediocre is what he probably is.
For me right now, the thing is, you've seen how this guy has changed. He came in, what was he, a gunslinger? All of a sudden, he's become gun shy. Is this the fact that he's had 4 different head coaches and 4 different OCs, or the fact that this guy is not preparing properly and can't read a defense at all? Or is it a mix of the two, and he will just only be mediocre, possibly no more than a Kirk Cousins type game manager? That's what the Cleveland Browns need to find out going forward. They need to put certain things on Baker Mayfield, see if he can lead you to a win, while also trying to build around him and build a game plan to help your team win regardless of him or in spite of him. It is a tricky issue, and that is why the Miami Dolphins are starting next week, week 8, when they face the Rams, which is going to be a nightmare. We'll talk about that game. We'll talk about what happened in that game because we're off next week.
Correct.
But it is scary to think how bad that offensive line is in the middle, and they're going to face Aaron Donald, and that's to his first game. But for the Browns, Baker needs to step up in this game. He needs to make the correct reads. He needs to get back to the Baker Mayfield that was drafted out of Oklahoma. 3-step drop, quick throw, 3-step drop, quick throw, or stop and actually read the defense, look ahead to what's going on. Because his best game was probably against Cincinnati, but he still threw a stupid interception because he did not read the zone defense properly. Now, for this game, I think the Browns still win it. I think it's not going to be as easy as probably their last win was, but I got the Browns winning this game. What about you, bro?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get into Baker. I think Baker's mediocre. I can tell you, I think Baker's never been able to read a defense since he's been in the NFL. Listen, I'm rooting for Baker, but Baker, when big teams outside of Baltimore, when he plays big boy teams, he's fucking terrible. He's terrible. And yeah, he'll be able to look decent against the Bengals, but a guy that is so quick to leave the pocket, gets happy feet, and tends to miss high, and literally, I mean, I don't know. You're right. He certainly struggles to get through his progressions. I don't know if he can read NFL defenses. I certainly know he's good enough to beat up on crappy teams, but eventually you're gonna have to beat somebody. Yeah. I still like Cleveland here. But again, as far as Baker Mayfield goes, I don't want to say I've seen enough, but even with his mechanics and his footwork that they've been working on in the offseason, he still snaps the ball and runs out of the pocket way too damn quick, puts his offensive line in a terrible position. And there's no reason for it. He panics. He leaves. I think he's like you said, he's become gun shy. He's scared for his life, and he shouldn't be, because I sent you a something the other day. I mean, the fact that Baker looks like that when you are the second best run blocking team in the NFL and your ability to run the ball speaks volumes. What happens when your team can't run the ball? Then what is Baker? And that's my point. I just don't know if the game needs to slow down to him, because right now it still looks like it's pretty damn fast.
Would you agree that when he first came out that first season, 2018, his first year, that the game didn't look too fast to Baker? He looked like he had an idea of what to do with the ball.
Yes.
Would you say that he's completely regressed and changed since that time? That would be probably a yes, based on what you said.
Well, yes, absolutely yes.
Yeah. So do you believe it's Baker not getting better preparing himself, or do you think it's the fact that the Browns organization as a whole, the way it's been run, has completely ruined a guy who had a promising future at one point?
Yes to both of those.
I'm with
yes to both of those, because I think Baker half-assed, didn't give a shit last year. He didn't put any effort in anything. And I also think that Freddie Kitchens killed him.
Holding the Denny's menu?
Yeah, and I mean, yes, the organization's done him wrong, but we've talked about this a million times on the show. Organizations screw quarterbacks over all the time. Sam Darnold's literally he's pleading for help. He's drowning, and nobody will save his ass. I mean, I like the Browns still, but give me Joe Burrow over Baker Mayfield all day right now. I'll take Joe Burrow a million times.
I never thought I'd say that, but I'm with you. And Justin Herbert right there with you. And this is the Browns.
I hope Baker does. I hope he's better, because I personally want him to be better, because a lot of my friends and people I love are Browns fans, and there's no reason that we both have to be miserable. Like one of us should be able to be happy.
I was looking to see, like, we've had we're 6 weeks in the NFL. We've had 1 week where both of our teams won.
Yeah, I was talking to my neighbor tonight. I met this guy, and he's like, yeah. He's like, oh, the Browns are 4-2 though, and I'm like, man, it's sad, because I've seen this story, because I've been part of it. you get excited when your team's actually mediocre.
And that's why I was getting hate last week when I picked the Steelers to win.
Yeah, when your team's mediocre, but you want them so badly to be good because they always suck, that's a Lions and Browns fan.
I mean, the Browns are 4-2, but they're beating the teams they should. They're a middle-of-the-road team. They're not an upper-tier team, and we're seeing who they are. They should win this game. They can win 10 games based on what's left on their schedule. They can get to the playoffs, but they probably won't make noise in the playoffs. I mean, this is the team that we should have saw last year when they should have hired Kevin Stefanski, even though I was a big fan of hiring Freddie at the time. And that's for another day. We'll talk more about the offseason later. Let's get rolling here. Packers take on the Texans.
Packers.
You know, I like the Packers in this one too, especially because
they got their ass beat last week.
Exactly. And nobody bounces back and has revenge games better than Aaron Rodgers.
They're on wagers tonight. They're on the Wars wagers list. I'm not betting against Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, look at that team. Watson, the biggest thing I've saw in this game when I was looking it up, Deshaun Watson's tied for the league in average yards per attempt, and that's without Nuke Hopkins. Does that surprise you, or do you believe that's part of the fact that they have guys who are best at running fast and straight?
Let's talk about Will Fuller.
Okay.
All the dude does, I mean, I'm not saying Will Fuller's bad, but all that dude does is catch 40-yard touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have tons of dudes that
are healthy.
Right.
You have an Ingram of wide receivers.
Yes. So they have tons of burners. And then they have my man Darren Fells. No, Deshaun Watson's a damn good quarterback.
Damn right he is.
He would be very scary on the Chicago Bears instead of Mr. Trubisky right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or Patrick Mahomes. But to me, the team's kind of being held together by glue. I'm not a huge fan of it. I was really impressed with the way that they fought last week. But typically when your coach / GM, gets fired, there always seems to be that first week where like the team like is playing hard and shit. And then they realize, oh, we actually do suck. It wasn't all Bill O'Brien. And I think that might have kind of been the week that we saw last week against the Titans. So yeah, I expect that they lose this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's exactly why I took the Lions to beat the Falcons, because last week they won, but that was that honeymoon with the new coach. And since we're not going to be here next week and we won't be back until after the trade deadline, mm-hmm. JJ Watt still with the Texans when we come back in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think JJ Watt's almost like one of the untradeable guys just based off of Houston's kind of Houston's JJ Watt, right? And I think JJ Watt retires in Houston Texans.
I hope so. But it would be something that they could actually move to get back some of that draft capital. Next, we come to the Carolina Panthers 3-3 at New Orleans Saints 3-2. It's a dump-off doozy. It's the battle of conservative QBs. It is Teddy Bridgewater returning to New Orleans, to Nolans, to face Drew Brees.
Sounds like no Mike Thomas.
Mike Thomas, dude, this guy's killing me in fantasy. Drafted him.
Now he's got a hammy. Now he got suspended for being a dick.
Yep.
So although he's a Buckeye, Mr. Slant Man himself needs to chill out a little bit.
Yep.
I'm still taking the Saints. They're the better team. I think the Saints are one of the best rosters in the entire league. All respect to Teddy. No CMC back this week. And listen, everybody's got to tip the cap to the Carolina Panthers so far this year and what Teddy Bridgewater's been able to do and what Mike Davis has been able to do to step in. But I think the Saints are just a better team.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Saints being the better team. They have a great roster, but that Saints D is not playing up to it. And if I would have told you, this might be the most 2020 thing ever, going into week 7, that we have a Saints-Panthers game and Robbie Anderson's the best wide receiver on the field, you would have punched me in the face, and deservedly so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to take the Panthers in this one. And I feel like Teddy's going to be the guy who stretches out the field and loosens things up more than Drew Brees is. But I'm going to take the Panthers in this one. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Very interesting. The next game we have, I think you got to rant about it. It is the 4-2 Buffalo Bills, basically a bye week. They're facing the 0-6 New York Jets. I'm just going to say I got the Bills in this one, and I'm going to leave you for the rest.
Yeah. I have the Bills too. Listen, the New York Jets have brought in a coach that's basically traded away all their best players. He's ruined the starting quarterback. We have Quentin Williams now apparently is available for a second-round pick. I mean, I know that's rumors. The team just got shut out by the goddamn Miami Dolphins. What are we doing here? Why is Adam Gase still have a job? And I don't care if you say, "Oh, who's gonna replace him?" I will replace his ass. It's embarrassing. Le'Veon's gone. Jamal Adams is gone. Robbie Anderson is gone. The team's a complete mess. They have no direction. They're ruining Sam Darnold, and somehow Adam Gase has a job. It doesn't make any sense to me. And you want to bring up a coach that you think might be the worst coach in the league. It's bullshit because Adam Gase is. It is complete trash. It's trash for Jets fans. It's trash that they waste all their draft picks. It's embarrassing. And if I was a Jets fan, I'm a Lions fan. So I know how shit is terrible. I know terrible things. But what's happening right there, right now, this is embarrassing.
Couldn't have said any better myself, bro. And now there's talk, that people are saying already, if the Jets get the first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence should stay in school. What do you think about that?
That's stupid. That's stupid because if you're Trevor Lawrence, you're going to get paid a lot of money. Listen, the Jets aren't going to suck forever. Right now, what they have in the current front office they have, in the current clown show that's running the team is certainly holding them back. They need to clean house and start fresh. It's just that simple. And you have to now because the locker room clearly doesn't care. They clearly have no respect for this clown. Le'Veon Bell gets traded because he can't get along with him. Jamal Adams hates the guy. All your best players are saying, F you, dude, we want out of here. Adam Gase has to go. He has to go because not only is he screwing the team, the roster's turning against him. They're demanding to leave. And then they're getting, nothing back in their trades. It's embarrassing as hell. It really is. I'm sorry. They just cut Le'Veon Bell. They cut Le'Veon freaking Bell. You can't make that work. What the hell is – I don't understand what's going on, dude.
100% with you. And after that excellent rant, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back after a message from our sponsors here, Manhattan Deli Menor. We'll talk a little bit about them. Here you go. We'll be right back.
And remember, check out the Full Coverage Football Show live every Thursday night on Facebook at fb.me/FCFS pod from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Here I am today at the Manhattan Deli of Menor on 8900 Menor Avenue in Menor, Ohio. You can come into this restaurant, get carry-out 440-974-0055, delivery through DoorDash and Uber Eats, or if you want to come into the restaurant, you can sit on this gorgeous patio with your friends and family, or even come in and know that you are safe because the tables are all clean and sanitized. There are plexiglass shields between everything to make sure you're safe. Friendly staff who apparently is dodging and afraid to be on camera. But the food, man, the food. Look at this. This is a chicken Philly sandwich. Chicken, onions, mushrooms, Swiss cheese, mozzarella cheese, golden brown, French fries. Want something lighter? California chicken salad. California chicken salad, fruit, toasted pineapple, or the chopped Greek rainbow salad. Look at that delectable masterpiece.
All that and more available at the Manhattan Deli Menor. Brand new specials for the fall. Check them out. One of our sponsors here on the Full Coverage Football Show. All kinds of good food, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Remember, this is a Full Coverage Football Show. Check us out on Facebook, fb.me/FCFS pod. And check out our sponsors, Manhattan Deli Menor, 440-974-0055. You can get anything you want on Uber Eats, DoorDash, or Grubhub. Conceal carry firearms training. Give Jim a call, 440-391-4118. Get your concealed carry. Or Kitty Cove Daycare. Check them out on Facebook at Kitty Cove OH on Facebook. And let's continue back with our game picks. We both took the Bills on that one. Easy selection. The Cowboys face the football team of Washington. They travel to the nation's capital. And before we get on this game, shut up, Cowboys fans. You're not a couple plays away from being 4-2. You're two goddamn miracles away from being 0-6. Your team sucks. They're terribly coached. Drew, who you got in this one?
Cowboys.
I'm
sorry. I mean, listen. This game feels very similar to the bullshit I'm watching on my TV now, right? Doesn't it? This whole division, it's like
it's the NFC LEast, baby.
You're making us watch all four of these teams, and two are playing each other. Both two are playing each other. So for me, it's the Cowboys. It's just the more experienced team. It's the better roster. Zeke should try to not fumble all the time.
Hold on to the football, bro.
Andy Dalton did look pretty terrible, but I think Washington with Kyle Allen, all the things going on there, it's just not a great roster. I do think they turn it around eventually. But for me, I'm going to take the Cowboys just because I have to pick a team.
I'm going to take the Redskins. I think Chase Young should have his best game as a pro if he plays, because that Cowboys offensive line is nothing. Even though I do think Andy Dalton will be better because it is an earlier game, he'll finish his bowl of oatmeal, get out there as the Red Rocket, throw a few touchdowns, and it's not going to be past his bedtime. So let's move on to our next game, which is now the Sunday night football game.
Yes.
Due to COVID issues, a much better Sunday night football game, in my opinion. It is the Seahawks against the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson getting to throw the ball in a dome. Ooh, scary. Russ indoor might get AB soon. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Who you liking this one, bro?
What is it, Mr. Impossible? What is it? Mr. Unlimited. Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited.
Yep, that's what it is. I'm rolling Seahawks all day.
I am also taking the Seahawks.
If you lose to the Lions, your team's not that good. Sorry, Arizona.
Yeah, and Kyler Murray, great to have in fantasy, and I kind of wish I didn't trade him away at this point. But kind of decent to have. But is he regressing really on the field? You look at last week, 9 of 24. I mean, he's really doing more with his legs than his arm right now. He did have a nice throw to Christian Kirk on terrible broken cover 3 where Darryl Worley dove to the flat rather than follow a streaking Christian Kirk.
But no time is 9 for 24 except. And no time is even with his ability to use his legs. That's not good. And Kyler Murray's was accurate as hell at Oklahoma. It's also like some other guy I know that just throws it to the other team. Yes. But yeah, I mean, listen, overall, Kyler Murray has a fantastic skill set with speed that we haven't really seen from the quarterback. His straight line speed is faster than any quarterback I've ever seen.
Unbelievable.
It's ridiculous, but he needs to mature. I still think Arizona's year is next year with a good draft. I still think you bringing in Cliff Kingsbury last year. This team's still growing. And I look forward to what they're going to do, but right now they're just not. Nuke Hopkins isn't being utilized correctly. I don't know if Kyler Murray. A lot of the times when you add a player of a Nuke Hopkins kind of caliber, sometimes you could ask maybe Baker Mayfield.
Seems like there's a good correlation between two former Oklahoma quarterbacks here in their second year.
That you want to force it to the receiver because they won't shut their goddamn mouth until they get the football. That's certainly Odell Beckham. I'm not saying that's Nuke Hopkins, but when you're the alpha guy, when you're the X, that's always in the ear of the quarterback. You very similar maybe to what the OBJ things are in Cleveland. However, you want guys like that on your team. You just need to figure out how to make it work. And I think overall, eventually they will, but not this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got the Seahawks in this one. One more thing on this game I want to ask. Actually, two more. We'll go two more real quick. Yes or no question. Cliff Kingsbury better than you've expected as a NFL head coach so far?
No.
No?
No.
I think he's been better than I expected, but I didn't have great expectations for him. Antonio Brown, week 9, in a Seahawks uniform.
Yes.
I'm with you on that. I think that's his best place to go. Moving on to a team that acquired a new weapon recently, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs, who last week they ran the ball like crazy, but that was the way the Bills played them. With Clyde Edwards-Helaire, had 161 yards, I think almost 200 yards total last week.
It was super fun to watch, bro, because he just ended the game on his own.
Yeah,
just handed it to him. He literally just milked the whole clock out.
And we talked about a couple weeks ago that Buffalo Bills defense isn't as good as a lot of people want to think it is, but I could see that their plan going into the game was don't get beat deep. Only way you're going to get beat deep or beat at all is if they run the ball against you, which is exactly what they did. Yeah. Now they go into a game at Denver, going to Mile High and Power Field at Mile High or whatever it is nowadays. This is a division game. Division games are different. They can be trap games. Is this a trap game for KC, or you think they easily roll in this one?
No, I think even with Drew Lock back, I mean, a team needs time. Denver's been hurt with the injury bug too. Kansas City, to bring up Le'Veon Bell, I don't think Le'Veon Bell is much of a factor at all this week. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I heard that he might not even play. I mean, that could be just Andy Reid, smashing burgers and messing with people. But
burgers and wiping the grease on Hawaiian shirts. Let's roll.
Yeah. I mean, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I can't even say the damn name. I think they're going to keep feeding the kid. He was fantastic last week again. Even running between the tackles. It was fun to watch. I expect they're just a better team. I'm not going to go any further anyway. They're better than Denver right now. Denver's all their good players are hurt.
Yeah, people are high on the Broncos right now because they shut down the Patriots offense. But the Patriots offense, they haven't been good in 2 years, maybe even almost 3 years. They still have the same weapons they had with Tom Brady who couldn't get things done. And now you're getting Cam Newton, who's never been great at seeing the field and is counted on his legs more times than not. Now they're shutting that down. So that defense, they played pretty well, but they still only got 6 field goals. That's not going to work against Kansas City. I get Kansas City in this one. Our next game, 4:25 kickoff from SoFi Stadium. Jacksonville Jaguars and Gardner Minshew travel to the 1-4 Los Angeles Chargers to face Justin Herbert. Who you got in this one?
Chargers.
I am with you on that. And there are rumors coming out of Jacksonville that they're thinking about benching Gardner Minshew. And their backup, for those who didn't know, is the long-necked one, Mike Glennon. Would you bench Gardner Minshew right now if you're Jacksonville for Mike Glennon? No. Simple as that.
Listen, I mean, it is, though. Like, we know what Mike Glennon is. Why the hell are we acting like we don't know who Mike Glennon is? When a guy's in the league for a certain amount of time, we know who the hell he is. We don't need Mike Glennon's not all of a sudden become goddamn Tom Brady because his ass has sat on a steel bench for 4 years. He's Mike Glennon.
But Gardner is tall.
Listen, Mike Glennon should be paying back the NFL for the contract Chicago Bears gave him. He literally stole money from the NFL. So Mike Glennon should just sit his happy ass back and hold a clipboard because he should be playing in anything. Gardner Minshew's a goddamn legend.
Listen, for Jacksonville, you want Trevor Lawrence. That's what you're hoping out of this. But you still got to see what you got in Gardner.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying if you can draft Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. And Mike Glennon isn't an improvement. He's more of a decline than anything from Gardner Minshew because at least Gardner Minshew can get guys to play with him and want to play for him. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. And hey, Chargers,
outside the team sucks, bro. The team sucks. Terrible. Gardner Minshew is leading out a team of a bunch of handicapped people.
It is the replacements.
Yes, it's terrible, dude. Listen, I love Gardner Minshew, and this might be, but no, Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's a starter as long as Gardner Minshew wants to be the starter.
I'm with you on that. And Chargers, outside of Forrest Lamp, you need a lot of offensive line help. Justin Herbert looked like a superstar. He's made some crazy ass throws and things I never thought I'd say. And he's made some rookie
back to life. Mike Williams up from the grave.
Exactly. He's thrown some weird rookie passes, but for the most part, this kid has looked really damn good. Keep building around that kid. You might have a pretty damn good future, and you might be the best team in LA pretty soon. Moving on, the Niners against the Pats. I mean, this is a weird game.
Are people calling out my golf game on here? What the hell's going on here?
Didn't do nothing. You suck at golf.
Wow, didn't do nothing. Why would you say that? Listen, didn't do nothing. We should play some golf for a couple bucks sometime. All right, move on. Didn't do nothing.
Hey, didn't do nothing. You want to play golf for a couple bucks sometime? We'll put it on here. We'll put it live. We'll see who's up for golf. That could be a lot of fun. Anyway, back to that. Interesting. That's our first Periscope comment, and
he was a dick.
Slam on your golf game.
Yeah, I don't even know how. Yeah,
let's figure out who that is on Twitter. San Francisco 49ers 3-3 at New England Patriots 2-3. The Niners got their first win outside of New Jersey last week. The Patriots lost to the Broncos last week. Mm-hmm. They're 2-3. I mean, this is a weird game, but it's also a fun game because you got the Shanahan offensive scheme against the Hoodie defensive scheme. Like, for guys who like to watch football schemes, this is going to be a fun one, but it could also be an ugly damn game. Who do you like in this game?
The Patriots.
I'm with you on that. I like the Patriots as well.
I mean, my reasoning is because Bill Belichick isn't going to be in. I mean, it's not going to have 2 weeks in a row like that.
Yeah, I can't see it either.
Cam Newton will be better. It'll be good. Listen, I think the Patriots you want to talk about scheme. They literally can get it. Bill Belichick will coach them up to where they're ready to rock and roll. They're not getting embarrassed 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think this is a game where Damian Harris is going to have to step up and get the run game going because it looks like Jason Verrett's finally healthy and has looked pretty good at corner for the Niners. I mean, at least he did last week against the Rams. So that could be an interesting game. And nobody shuts down players better than George Kittle than the hoodie. And even though Shanahan's really good at getting guys open,
there's not many of them to get open.
I mean, they've got to hope Debo and those trick plays kind of work. And yeah, the Patriots defense isn't the same, but I mean,
that team needs Antonio Brown, bro.
Yep. I'm with you, but I still think he goes to Seattle because it's the best place to go for him.
Me too.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4-2 at Las Vegas Raiders. The Bucs stomped Green Bay last week, and they were really good, but they played aggressive last week, and that was coming off at least their defense did, coming off a game where they played soft zone against Nick Foles and got beat by the Bears.
Correct.
I mean, this team needs to figure out what they're doing on defense, what their mentality is, and now they're facing a Raiders team at Allegiant Stadium, at the Death Star, or whatever they're calling it out there. And Henry Ruggs is there. He's the key to the Raiders' offense we've seen so far. I mean, Jamel Dean has looked pretty good at corner, but he's fast, but nobody is Henry Ruggs fast. Who do you like in this one?
Tampa Bay. I do.
Tampa Bay? You think it's going to be a close one, or you got Tampa easily rolling in this one?
No, I do. Because I like what Chunky's actually building there. Mm-hmm. I think next year, I really do. I think one more draft, even though we've said that, he drafts guys. We're like, ha, ha, ha. He's actually put together some damn good drafts. I remember when you and I would look at the ticker on how much money he was making in that, ridiculous contract. Oakland's building something. They're not there yet. They're a quarterback away potentially and some other pieces. Now, Derek Carr's a fine quarterback. Derek Carr is he's not necessarily the guy, but we've seen that you can win with other quarterbacks like that. But I just don't think the Raiders are matching up well in here, even at home. So I'll fade them.
Yeah, and speaking of people who need to teams and people who need to figure out who they are, Derek Carr needs to stop being dump off Derek and get back to being a little aggressive. Quit being gun shy. When you threw the ball deep and you actually took chances, and Henry Ruggs made you look good, your team went well and you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But I got Tampa Bay in this one as well. And the final game of the night, the Bears versus Rams, two teams who might be fake good when you really look at it. The Bears are 5-1.
Bears are 5.
I mean, the Bears are 5-1.
I hate the Bears.
We've been like they're a bad team, but
they are
bad. Maybe they're just a good roster with a bad quarterback. And when you look at the Rams, they're 4-0 against the NFC East, and
that's bullshit. No, I mean,
0-2 against everyone else. So are they good, or are they just beating on the crap teams? I mean,
but in the NFL, I want to say something too. There's no shame in beating the shit teams because everybody's going to play them. So you have to beat the shit teams to be a good team. Both teams are overrated. Yes, to answer your question. I will take the Rams. I'll take the Rams.
Man.
Here's the deal. I hate the Bears, and I think they're not a 5-1 team. I know they're not a 5-1 team. I know this for a fact.
We haven't seen a good game from Nick Foles yet.
Dude, first of all, I'm not going to fade Mitch Trubisky. His family might be watching. He sucks, though. But the fact that you lost your job to Nick Foles and they just keep winning, it's a fantastic roster with a quarterback that can get by. Now, we know Nick Foles. He might be able to get you somewhere. But I don't think the roster is that good. But I do think the Bears are a good team, but I hate them. I'm not going to pick them.
Mm-hmm. Nick Foles is the most Jekyll and Hyde quarterback in the league. There's one second where you're like, wow, this guy's got talent. He's really good. And the next second you're like, the fuck picked this guy to play for us?
Seriously.
I mean, I can't imagine being a team or a teammate of these guys. I mean, it's ridiculous. But, yeah, I'm with you. They're both faked. And the crazy thing is, last time I looked at the line on this, and I'm sure you already know, the Rams are 6-point favorites. What have the Rams done to prove to you that they're good enough to be 6-point favorites in this game? This is the most bizarre spread I've seen.
Let's see where it's at now. That's still 6.
Still 6.
Listen, they've been fine. I mean, they've been decent. Jared Goff's been decent, but I think Jared Goff is Sean McVay's done wonderful things for Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. There's a 6-point spread in the NFL is a big spread. You want to know how shitty the New York Jets are? You want to know what their spread is?
Let's hear it.
They're plus 12 at home. At fucking home to the Buffalo Bills. That's embarrassing. Why is it? Again, what are we doing with Adam Gase? Why is he still here? Like everybody looks at them. Yeah, he's building a culture of friggin' methed out taco people. Jesus Christ. But yeah, if you want to bring up spreads, I'm looking at that spread. I'm like, listen, as much as the Jets are terrible, there's no way I can bet against 12 points.
The early spread on the Chiefs and Jets game, the last time I saw was 21. That is a college football type spread.
I'll take the Jets. 21 is too much for me. Yeah, it's too much.
And folks, look at us. Look at us being pros. That is a segue to everyone's favorite segment of the show. Ward's Wagers, 43-18-2 against the spread last year. 2-1 last week. He's starting to build, baby. Get on the train now. What do you got for us this week, bro?
I got 4 of them this week.
Woo!
We got 4 road teams and 4 road teams. And I apologize everybody for the wires and shit in the back. We're working around here. We just moved in. All right, everybody relax. Yeah, this is Drew off a cliff this week as far as Ward Wagers go. We're gonna start down there in Cincinnati, Ohio, where the Skyline chili is flowing from the mountaintops.
I want to break in real quick here. Yeah. Skyline chili's gross. Don't put cinnamon in chili.
It's terrible.
That's it. Terrible. Don't put cinnamon in chili.
No, I don't think anybody from Cincinnati is listening. It's fine. It's terrible chili.
Don't put cinnamon in chili.
The fact that they're known for their shitty chili is even worse. Like, it was good. Like, it's fine. Anyway, we're fading Cincinnati because of their bullshit-ass chili. We're going to take the Cleveland Browns -3 on the road in Cincinnati. Next, we're going to take another terrible team on the road. The Detroit Lions travel to Atlanta. The Detroit Lions are getting 2 points on the road here in Atlanta. Although my Lions are terrible, Atlanta is as well, and I love points. So we will take the Lions +2. Then we head down to Houston, Texas, I guess. Yeah, Houston, Texas. Anyway, I think Houston last week played really, really well. However, they're -3.5. Green Bay comes to town. Green Bay kind of got embarrassed last week after Aaron Rodgers did the triple Key and Peele pump in the end zone. It might have been bad juju. I was a huge fan of it. If you guys don't know what it was, that's on you. But I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers bouncing back here this week at Houston. We'll take Green Bay -3.5. And finally, we head to Washington with the football team. I guess it is these days. Listen, this is a terrible football game. It's a pick 'em between Dallas in the nation's capital. I'm going to take Dallas just because I don't know. Why the hell not? I mean, listen, Dallas is the better team. They have the better roster. They don't have the better coach. Jeremy, you forgot to go off on Mike McCarthy. That's your bad. Yes, there it is, the triple pump. That was – listen, I enjoyed that. I really did, and I don't like Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, we're going with Dallas. We're going with Dallas. We got Cleveland -3. We got Detroit +2. We got Green Bay -3.5. We got Dallas in a pick'em. We're going ×4 this week. I'm feeling pretty good about it, or we're going to lose them all. So anybody that wants to just get on board, we'll either celebrate or we'll drink in sorrow together.
And by the way, you're right. I did miss out on Mike McCarthy. I did say they were horribly coached, but Mike McCarthy fooled us all. He used Geek Squad to set up a bunch of TVs and computer screens for his Impact draft room with Tom Pelissaro. We all bought into it just to realize that guy wanted some more money so his fat ass could sit on his ass and retire with $25 million plus of Jerry Jones money. And yeah, I called him a fat ass. Look at me. I'm a fat ass too. I wouldn't mind having $25 million sit my fat ass on my ranch. And I could probably get 2 wins out of that roster. That is a very good roster. And that is Ward's Wagers. We will be without it next week. don't miss us too much. You got 2 weeks without us.
I'm in a wedding. Going to a wedding.
Have fun at your wedding. You'll get all dressed up. And speaking of dressed up, bro, what's your favorite Halloween costume you ever had?
Oh, man, Ninja Turtles. Donatello.
Ninja Turtles?
Donatello all day. Like, listen, man, when I was a little kid, I'd be like talking in the sewers trying to get the Ninja Turtles' attention and shit. I was big into the Ninja Turtles, man. So yeah, for me, that was it. To be honest with you, like, and I know this isn't the question, but like, what age is too old to stop wearing that bullshit?
I mean, I think the last time I actually like dressed up for Halloween was like 13, and then I would just throw random masks on just to go get candy.
That's fair, because that's the thing. Even like I'm happy I had 2 kids just so I can get some of this candy.
Yeah.
But at the same point, I think if you're like 20 and stuff and still dressing up and going to people's doors, like, that's weird, man.
Listen, if you're going to a Halloween party in college, I went to a great Halloween party at OU and a great one in Miami.
Those
dressed up all you want. Those are totally different. But if you're going trick-or-treating,
I know what you're talking about those parties. And yes, you're right. They're different and they're lovely.
Totally different.
Those are different.
And speaking of that, let me tell you a great story.
Yes.
So I have a friend who's very religious. He dressed up as an angel with his girlfriend one year at Halloween at OU.
That can't be true.
That same night, he walked out of a frat house. Guy from another frat house thought he was part of that frat. He was dressed as the devil and knocked that angel's teeth out. It is one of my favorite stories ever. Absolutely hilarious. I could not stop laughing. And I walked away. And I was sober. So it was even more fun because I got to watch everything and remember it. But yeah, excellent thing. Bro.
Halloween costume, you're in.
You bring up Ninja Turtles. I was a Raphael fan. I was Raphael one year. But my favorite ever in 3rd grade, I believe it was.
Who is the worst Ninja Turtle? Who's the shittiest Ninja Turtle? Because I'm a Donatello fan, so I don't want you to try to fade on it. But Leonardo has legitimate swords. Like, so.
Yeah.
I think Raphael may be the biggest bitch of the group, dude. So you might have been the worst Ninja Turtle for Halloween.
Raphael, he was a dude who like
pizza. He had like those little kind of like that. Yeah, but they all like pizza.
And the katanas, and like he was the cool one who said all the cool, funny things. I mean, he wasn't as good of a ninja. I mean, I liked Raphael back in the day.
Raphael for his personality, his wit.
Probably because he was more like me, like say witty, stupid things and eat pizza.
I wanted to be the cool one though. Like clearly I'm not, but like Leonardo and Dante, it does. Yeah, good something.
I mean, who? That is definitely a question for Twitter. Who's the most uncool of the Ninja Turtles? But my favorite costume was 3rd grade. I dressed up as Freddy Krueger. Had one of those masks that you can't breathe in. Had one glove because that's what it came with, and my other hand was normal, so I could hold the bag of candy. But I kept that mask for so long, and when I stopped dressing up and just needed to throw on a mask, I would throw that mask on and go get candy so my fat ass could have candy back in the day.
One more thing, and that's fantastic. One more thing, because I know we're going late tonight, but is going trick-or-treating in a just mask 2020 acceptable? You just go to a house with like a mask, a normal mask. They wear to the store. Is that an acceptable costume?
I mean, it kind of is, especially in Ohio, because if you get the whole
refusing anybody that brings that to my house. I live in North Carolina. Actually, I'm not even going to be here. I'm going to be in Texas next year. If you do that shit, I'm not giving you any cake.
I mean, you can't even show. That's the thing that sucks. Like living in Ohio and cold places, you don't get to show off your whole costume because mom's always like, throw on a sweatshirt, throw on a coat, something like that. So, kids, as soon as you get away from your house, take off the coat. I don't care if you get sick. You're not my kids, but show off that costume. Yeah. I hate the teenage kids who show up to the house and they're not dressed as anything. And I'm like, what are you? I'm a baseball player. Like,
yeah, I refuse those people.
Yeah.
Listen.
I'm with you on that.
All right. Hey, man. That dude that says I suck at golf, you're a dick. But anyway, it was a good show.
And that was Didn't Do Nothing, which we can find him on Twitter. Let's find out who that guy is and what he knows about us. We'll find out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. As always, thank you, Chris, for joining at Detroit BC on Twitter. Check out our merch on Bonfire. We will see you next week live, or not next week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Live show at 8 p.m. 2 weeks from now. We'll talk NFL trade deadline, some other fun stuff. Hopefully the world hasn't burned down. I think that's 2 days after the election. God only knows what's going to happen. People are crazy. Brother, enjoy your time.
Aren't they debating right now, too? Isn't there like a debate?
Yeah.
I got to tune in. They got a mute button tonight, bro. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see the last one? This isn't political at all. That shit was a train wreck.
It was. It was like a bad episode of First Take.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's not political at all. If you didn't think that was a train wreck, then you got your own problems. All right, anyway.
Whoever you're voting for, I don't care, but that was a train wreck. And you know you're going to turn on that debate tonight, and they're going to have Trump's mic muted, and he's going to be like holding up sign, fake news, something like that. And Biden's going to be like digging for flashcards or some shit. But I hope whoever is watching this show now, you enjoyed the show, and you chose this over the debate, because this is way less of a train wreck, and we're your only hope to have a good night sometimes. Yeah. So, brother, have a great time at the wedding. I hope you have a great one. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Check out the pod here on Facebook, iHeartRadio, Spotify. If you check us out on Spotify, hit the follow button. If you look at us on Apple Pods, give us some ratings, 5-star rating. Hopefully we earned it. Everyone, we will see you in 2 weeks. Until then, as always, if you live the life you love, you'll love the life you live. Good night, kids.
Except you don't do nothing.